What's up, boys and girls? Your boy Ash back again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about emulation. Pretty much, we're not going to talk too much for the intro. I just want to go straight right into the topic of emulation because it's one of the hot topics right now. Mainly because of companies not really giving a shit about older games anymore, which means, like, if anything, they're just trying to make most of the money as they possibly can. And yeah, most people are not liking it, they're not having it, and they wanted to seek other alternatives and how they could preserve older retro titles, which one of those methods is definitely emulation. Now, some of y'all probably don't even know what it is. Some of my friends don't, which is why I'm here to educate y'all a little bit. I'm not the full Wikipedia about emulation, but I can at least tell you on what it is and what their main purpose is. So to begin with, video game emulation is mainly software that can actually almost imitate most video game consoles. So, like, it's not going to be 100% accuracy, but it's going to be like 99.98% accuracy, if anything. But you can get video game emulators like GameCube, SNES, NES, Sega Dreamcast. These are mainly here for you if you're able to run all your dumped copy of your games that you own onto your PC. So that way, if the physical copies ever get worn out, wear and tear, I know disc has something called disc rot. I don't know if cartridges have like some sort of rotting thing for like aging or something like that. But let's say you lost your physical copies to like wear and tear and shit. You always have those digital copies of. You always have those dumps of those games all back up to your PC. You can still run those across most systems because you can actually run this type of software on most systems as long as it has some CPU, RAM, and GPU, and not too much either. You can get a freaking Raspberry Pi, such as this little guy. This is called the Raspberry Pi 02W. It's a quad core, goes up to 1 gigahertz, has a 9 GPU in it, and you can hook up a display to it and still run some retro titles off of it. But I don't think it runs 3D stuff that well, not PS1. So there's that. And besides that, you can run emulation off your phone. You can run emulation off your iPhone, Android, whatever you can think of. Is mostly going to be down to like the older retro stuff. Though I think you can run GameCube emulators off of like tablets, especially the iPad. So I know that, but overall, it's pretty easy accessible, which can also mean that it's pretty easy to pirate a whole bunch of games for emulation, which is why people have a lot of animosity towards emulation. You don't have to pirate in order for you to enjoy emulation. I mean, there's a lot of people out there as well that tends to dump their own games and just do it that way and stuff. Now, the thing is, that's like the most legal way you can actually emulate games. The other way, which the other 50% of the people do, is actually go to these websites and download copy dumps of these games and stuff. So, for example, let's say I didn't like this. I know lots of people really don't like this collection because Nintendo really did shoddy work on these ports, which I can completely understand. But let's say you didn't like the work they done here. You know, what you can do is that you can actually run this on one of the Switch emulators. Like, I think one of them is called Yuzu, and you can actually go to a website. I don't know what websites will have these, but you can go to a website, download that set copy of the dump, and you can actually run off the emulator and call it a day from there. Problem with that is that dump you just downloaded is someone else's game. So technically in legal standpoints, you have two copies, which is your copy and someone else's copy, which is illegal technically. However, if you were to get like a modded Switch, for example, and dump your own copy, you technically have only one copy, which is yours. So remember, if you dump your own shit onto your computer, you're safe. If you go to another website and download someone else's shit, it's technically illegal. Whether you do one of these methods, most people are not going to give a shit as long as you buy the game. Now the issue is that when it comes to dumping your own ROMs, ISOs, CIAs, all that stuff, the issue is that going on about it, it's not really hard to do. It's more like obtaining the means to do so. But let's just say, for example, you want to try to dump your Switch titles, for example. Now, the thing is that right now, literally the best way for you to get a custom firmware Switch is for you to buy a first generation Switch and then adding the custom firmware onto that, because it had a known exploit that you can use to actually hack the Switch, load the custom firmware onto that, and it will basically allow you to dump any games, whether it's digital or physical. Thing is, you can't really get that in retail anymore because it's now the second generation switches along with the OLED switches. I don't even know if you can still hack those anymore. I don't even know if you can even hack those in the first place. But that's the environment right now. And if you tend to look up the first generation switches, like I know that they have a certain model number to them. If you look those up on eBay, they're probably going to be a lot more higher than the MSRP, I can tell you that much. So in your head, you're like, fuck, I really want to do the legal way, but going to these websites are a lot more faster than just going through all the trouble paying for more than the MSRP for a first generation Switch and then waiting for it to come to my house and hoping to God that they don't update it to the latest firmware for some odd reason or something like that. I don't think the first generation Switch needs a certain firmware because I think it has something to do with the Joy-Cons and stuff. You have to do a certain thing to them. I never actually modded my Switch before. Mine's first generation, but I'm actually planning on getting like an OLED or possibly a Switch Pro if that ever comes out, and then using the first generation as a backup to, you know, back up all the Switch games that I got. Now with emulation, that comes with a lot of benefits. One of the biggest benefits is that you can possibly get better performance out of it when it comes to going from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, or even from 60 FPS to 144 FPS. Certain games, I haven't seen a lot of games that go up to higher than 60 frames per second due to like how emulation works overall, because you got to remember is that emulation is not really a PC port. It operates differently on how the logic works from the OG console itself, if anything. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of workarounds you have to do in order for you to achieve those certain results and certain retro titles, if anything. But overall, it's a really good experience for most people. So like for example, let's say you want to get the best experience from Super Mario Sunshine. So what you do is that you get the Dolphin emulator, or one of the forks of the Dolphin emulator. I forgot what it was, but you will need to get your own copy of Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube. And you can actually get a 4K texture pack that basically enables 60 FPS, ups the textures by a hell lot of pixels, a fuck ton of pixels. It's gonna make that game sharp. Like, you touch that game, it's gonna cut you. Like, I'm telling you, it's gonna make it sharp as hell. Along with that too, we'll give you 21 by 9 ultra widescreen support or something like that. So basically, if you have one of those really long monitors, you can do that with this texture pack. There's a crap ton of things for that Super Mario Sunshine texture pack, which is crazy. So literally, you can pretty much turn that game to like a whole new different game once you implement that, and it'll be a really hell of an experience if you have the hardware for it. Not only that, there's also things called netplay, where you can basically do like a peer-to-peer connection to another person that also has the same copy of the game along with the same version of the emulator, I believe, and you can play online through local play on the actual game itself, which is pretty fun to do. I usually recommend Parsec for that kind of stuff. I think the whole setup with netplay with certain stuff is not as ideal. I think the best online experience you can get for that sort of net play stuff is if you use Cemu, because I know they have dedicated servers for the Cemu online play stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of wonderful things you can do with emulation, and one of the most important things is obviously game preservation, because we need it big time. Companies just don't give a shit anymore, and we need to do something about it. We need to start dumping a whole bunch of games that we used to play and want to revisit this again without paying extra for it. I mean, I don't know how many times I bought the same retro title. Honestly, I could have probably triple dipped, quad dipped, penta dipped. Is that even a thing? Penta dip? And now companies want to try to gouge you out of these subscriptions and stuff. Listen, man, I know PlayStation's got that whole PlayStation Plus thing going on with $100 a year and shit, but man, I'm just not buying it. I'm not having it. I can't deal with that. I just can't. I know that's technically supporting them, but if you already own the game, you might as well just like do yourself a favor and just like download the ROMs and assets you already own and back up to your server or to like a hard drive or something like that. So that way you can technically have permanent ownership over a digital asset. I'm also not a fan of Nintendo's online system either. The thing is, they used to do virtual console stuff. I don't know what happened to that. I mean, I already know there's a downfall when owning digital items and stuff, because we're already seeing that with Nintendo and possibly Sony when it comes to them shutting down their servers for those consoles. But like, shit, man, I'm not having that either. Like the expansion, for example. I already talked about it in my last video, but I didn't like the expansion because it's the way they implement the expansion. They know for a fact that people wanted the N64 retro titles onto the Nintendo Switch. You got to give your consumers options on what they want in their package for a expansion pack, because like, what the hell? Like, I already talked about it. You can watch my last video about that stuff, because I didn't like that expansion pack whatsoever, and I'm not gonna continue supporting that. I never supported it to begin with, so there's that. But yeah, the thing is, I know there's people out there that still deny emulation, mainly because of piracy. But listen, like I said before, I already explained the Mr. Goody Two Shoes route and how to emulate your own games that you dumped yourself, if anything. But listen, man, there's gonna be a point in time where you need to like actually step up for yourself as a consumer and tell these companies, fuck you. I want to keep these games safe and preserved, and if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it ourselves. And I think that's one of the more important things you need to worry about, except for people that are actually going out to these websites and pirating a whole bunch of games and shit, because eventually those same websites that people download those dumps from, they're gonna cease to exist due to like a DMCA or a cease and desist and shit by Nintendo. Nintendo already took down one of the best ones, which is Emu Paradise. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they weren't doing anything. They were doing something illegal, which is obviously redistributing the dumps, because you're not supposed to do that technically. But people still do, because people still give a shit about preservation. They're not like that Bowser dude that literally made money on stolen copies of dumps and shit. They're not like him. That he's a rare case. That's my whole spiel about it. I know this video is gonna be a bit longer than it should be, but hey, it's my overall heart and thoughts about this said topic. I hope you guys listen all the way through with it and provide me your own opinions about it, and we can talk about this further if anything, because I honestly think people need to start emulating overall, or at least keep copies of their backups of the games and stuff, because you bought the game, you have every right to actually keep it to yourself and replay it as you may need to on other systems and everything. Just yeah, don't let anything else deter you from giving you full control of the game, of something that you bought, you know. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. This is your boy Ash signing out. I'll tell you guys later about other topics and stuff, because I need to get back to the groove on uploading at least one video a week. I gotta start making habits for myself. But anyway, I'll see you guys around, and I hope you guys have a good one. Peace out, everyone.